is joining us to provide some insight. Welcome to Good Day, Jamie. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So let's kick things off with the Alec Baldwin indictment.
Correct.
This has been going back and forth in the courts for I can't even remember when this event actually took place. This has been going back and forth for so long. Could you tell us what it means now that Alec Baldwin has officially been indicted for the charges?
Well, so the indictment itself suggests that at least there's probable cause that a crime was committed, and that decision would have been made by a grand jury or in some cases a judge. It doesn't mean that he's guilty of anything. The standard of proof is still that he must be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Personally, guys, I don't, at least what's been publicly reported, have a real difficult time with charging Mr. Baldwin. These productions are multifaceted. Clearly, there was negligence at some point in time by probably multiple people. But to hold Mr. Baldwin criminally responsible, I think is going to be a very difficult hill for them to climb. I understand that the gun was pointed, and, anybody that has any experience with firearms knows you never point a gun, whether you think it's loaded or unloaded. But on a movie prop, I think it's a stretch. I'll be surprised to see this go to any sort of conviction, but I've been wrong more than I've been right, I suppose. So, yeah.
And this is just a tricky case. I mean, no one wants to see someone on a professional set go through this. I mean, she was a young mother, so her family lost her as well.
So it's been a second since I've kind of followed this case again, but is there anyone on the set other than Alec Baldwin that's, being held accountable? Because, like, the people that do the props or...
And that's been quite an issue of contention, Jamie, is it seems like the weapons master, the individual whose responsibility it is to make sure every firearm is not loaded, is a prop, is
because that's
safe.
not Alec Baldwin's job, essentially, right?
But the argument here is that the individual whose job that wasn't experienced enough to be the head of that department. And what they're saying is Alec Baldwin is a producer on Rust, and therefore it was his decision to hire someone not experienced enough. But see, that's the thing. The person who its responsibility was, it really seems like the buck's being passed to Alec Baldwin, Jamie.
I completely agree. I think it's important for your viewers to be able to see this through two lenses. We have the criminal lens and then we have a civil lens. So getting to your first question is like, who else could be responsible? Quite a few people. There's certainly probably, I'm not a movie producer, but I suspect Live Ammunition was not, should have been accounted for. And that clearly didn't happen. And the young woman who is responsible for the weapon itself clearly has some liability. But to your ultimate point regarding Mr. Baldwin, to get to the point, where he committed manslaughter or some form of manslaughter, I think it's a real stretch, because you really have to show, at least in Michigan, gross negligence. Where a reasonable person would think their behavior could lead to a death. The most common one we see are drunk drivings, right? You don't intend to kill anybody, but you've created a situation where a reasonable person could foresee that. As being a producer on a movie set, I think that's a real stretch. And we've seen other people hurt in movie productions, and so I think this is a stretch. Again, I'll be surprised if this goes much further, but he is a wealthy man. I don't think it's an accident that he's become the target of the criminal investigation and the civil cases. And I just hope that the prosecutors are not overreaching because of his celebrity status. And we see that from time to time
Yeah.
where people who otherwise would not be charged are held accountable maybe because of who they are. And I'm not suggesting the prosecutors have political motivations, but I've seen it before, and I just hope that's not the case here.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, switching gears over to the Madonna situation then, what is she being held accountable for?
It's a tricky situation
Right,
with
she showed up late.
class action lawsuit. I mean, you'd show up 2 hours late to a scheduled performance. What leg do these...
Kind of like showing up to work late.
Yeah,
like how, yeah.
Exactly. So it seems frivolous, but I can also see it from their perspective.
spending the money.
Spending the money, which, to put it, I looked in to see how much the tickets were. They are hundreds
Yeah.
of dollars. These are not cheap tickets to Madonna shows. So for her to then stroll in at 10 o'clock and expect everyone to be happy-go-lucky about it just seems problematic.
So, frustrating, I suppose, illegal or civilly responsible, I think is outrageous. I'm telling my age right now, but it's been 25 years since I went to a concert, and I don't remember anybody ever coming out on time. In fact, my son and my wife, they just went to see. Don't ask me the name of the rapper. I'm again too old for that, but he's a huge deal. Like, people had flown in from all over the country, and he literally did not show. I'm not suggesting that there isn't liability there. I just think that anybody that's ever been to musical concerts and that sort of thing, there isn't anything unusual about that in of itself. Again, celebrity, deep pockets, and I don't know all of the facts, but showing up a couple of hours late, I think, does not rise to the level of breaching the contract, which is essentially what they're arguing, breaching the contract with the viewers.
It seems more of a feel free to ask for a refund type situation. And that seems like a more appropriate response than a class action lawsuit. Would you say, Jamie?
I would absolutely agree. For a class action lawsuit, you really have to show that there's a uniform damage across the board. In other words, we see them oftentimes in pharmaceutical cases where people all take the same drug and then ultimately they're harmed. I think it's going to be tough to have a class action certification in this case because, some people showed, some people didn't show, some people showed up late. I'm not saying they won't have it certified, but I think this one's going down in flames.
Gotcha.
Yeah, kind of a messy situation.
Yes,
there.
it is, Rachel. Yes, it is. Jamie White, an attorney based here in Michigan, giving us these wonderful insights into the Alec Baldwin trial and the Madonna civil case. Jamie, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, sir. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you.